Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Mae. Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtathara Satashi Shivaji Divine Grace of Bhaichana Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan Ki Jai Thai Gaut Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 4, Chapter 19, entitled King Prithu's 100 Horse Sacrifices. Text number 3. Yatra Yajnapati Shakshad Bhagavan Haririshvaraha Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yatra Yajnapati Shakshad Bhagavani Haririshvaraha Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yatra Yajnapati Shakshad Bhagavan Harir Ishvaraha Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yajnapati Shakshat Bhagavan Haririshvaraha Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yatra Yajnapati Shakshat Bhagavan Haririshvaraha Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yatra Yajnapati Shakshat Bhagavan Haririshvaraha Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yatra Yajnapati Shakshat Bhagavan Haririshvaraha Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Word for word translation. Yagnapatihi, the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Sakshat, directly. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Harihi, Lord Vishnu. Ishvaraha, the Supreme Controller. Anvabhuyata, became visible. Sarva Atma, the Super Soul of everyone. Sarva Loka Guruhu, the Master of all planets, or the Teacher of everyone. Prabhuhu, the Proprietor. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace of Chaitanya Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is present in everyone's heart as the Super Soul, and He is the proprietor of all planets and the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. He was personally present at the sacrifices made by King Prithu. You can repeat after me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is present in everyone's heart as the Super Soul, and He is the proprietor of all planets and the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. He was personally present at the sacrifices made by King Prithu. Purport: in this verse, the word Sakshat is significant. Prithu Maharaj was a Shaktyavesh avatar, incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Actually, Prithu Maharaj was a living entity, but he acquired specific powers from Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, however, is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus belongs to the category of Vishnu Tattva. Maharaj Prithu belonged to the Jiva Tattva. The Vishnu Tattva indicates God, whereas the Jiva Tattva indicates the part and parcel of God. When God's part and parcel is especially empowered, He is called Sakyavesha Avatara. Lord Vishnu is herein described as Harir Ishvaraha. The Lord is so kind that He takes all miserable conditions away from His devotees. Consequently, He is called Hari. He is described as Ishvara because He can do whatever He likes. He is the Supreme Controller. The Supreme Ishvara Purushottama is Lord Krishna. He exhibits His powers as Ishvara, or the Supreme Controller, when He assures His devotee in Bhagavad Gita 1866, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. He can immediately make his devotee immune from all the reactions caused by sinful life if the devotee simply surrenders unto him. He is described herein as Sarvatma, meaning that he is present in everyone's heart as the Super Soul, and as such, he is the supreme teacher of everyone. If we are fortunate enough to take the lessons given by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, our lives immediately become successful. No one can give better instructions to human society than Lord Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, we finished hearing about Prithu Maharaj milking the earth, or in other words, providing all resources for the residents of the earth, of course, of other planetary systems also. Now we're reading about Prithu Maharaj's 100 horse sacrifices. So if you go back a couple of chapters, you remember how Maitreya Rishi was just speaking a little bit about Prithu Maharaj's glories to Vidura. And it's Vidura who asked, please tell me more. How did he milk the earth? How did he perform the 100 sacrifices? So by the mercy of Vidura and Maitreya Rishi, we are now reading about how Maharaj Prithu performed 100 horse sacrifices. And the problem or the issue that Prithu Maharaj experienced during his sacrifice is the obstacle put in place by Indra, because Indra was insecure about his position. It's mentioned when one performs 100 horse or Aswamedha sacrifices or horse sacrifices, it's mentioned after doing 100, one is guaranteed to take the position of Lord Indra in the next birth. And Indra, our current Indra who's known as Purandra, of course not the same Indra here, but Indra at that time, the living entity occupying the position of the post of Indra, he felt threatened. He felt insecure about his position. That here I am, the king of the demigods, the chief, right? I get to enjoy anything to my pleasure, and there's so many people to follow whatever I say. He has everything which we pray we don't want when we chant Sikshashtami. Na dhanam, na jhanam, na sundarim. Indra is full of all of them. He has all opulences at his beck and call, at least to his limited degree in the heavenly planets, but to the best in the material world. So naturally, when one becomes attached, one enjoys such resources to the best quality in the material world. Would you settle for second best? No. It's hard. It's very difficult. You become attached. The taste, the enjoyment, the pleasure is of a subpar level in our minds. But Prahlad Maharaj says something different. Prahlad Maharaj says whether you're in a body of a dog or a body of a hog, the pleasure that you get in the body of a human being, materially speaking, is the same pleasure a hog or a dog gets. It's the same material pleasure. You think by eating from an iron pot or iron bowl and eating from a gold bowl is different? No. The taste is the same as long as the same food served in the same bowls. It's just the mind that projects the enjoyment. It projects it unrealistically. And that's why we suffer in material existence. Because we give the mind a chance, the senses to come in contact with the sense objects, and then the mind takes that and extrapolates it more and more. Right? If you take a little bit of rasgulla, it's sweet, yes? Naturally, what will the mind think? If I eat more, it'll taste more sweet and it'll be more pleasurable. And is that the case? It is the case for a certain period of time. It's temporary, right? At a particular point, no matter how much rasgulla someone gives you, you will not want any more. Yeah? We are limited. So that's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that persons who worship the demigods, they're foolish. Why? Because actually Krishna, is the one who gives through the demigods their benedictions. But the benedictions the demigods give are temporary. They don't last long. And they're of inferior quality compared to the spiritual enjoyment. So Indra, unfortunately, he could not tolerate, it says, he could not tolerate the great sacrificial ceremonies performed by King Prithu. He could not tolerate it. So there's another thing you can learn. When one is steeped in sense gratification, one loses self-control, patience, tolerance. All of these things no longer exist. Right? You see the so-called patience, the so-called tolerance, the so-called regulations of entrepreneurs, for example. Right? You see, they'll make videos of so-called great entrepreneurs who are successful in their business, and you'll see different traits in them. Right? They'll wake up early in the morning. They'll perform activities at a certain regulated point in time. They'll wear the same type of clothes every single day to reduce the time they spend searching for new clothes. The food they eat is very regulated in the sense it's the same thing again and again. But why do they do it? Externally it looks like they're performing some sort of Kali Yuga tapasya. But why are they doing it? They're doing it for sense pleasure, sense gratification. They know there's a certain amount of self-control required to enjoy better or to a higher degree. Right? So they know to some certain extent about that. But of course, whatever enjoyment they have is always minimized by the amount of distress that they experience in life. Yeah? A true materialist or a true karma kandi will know how to maximize the pleasure they experience in life and minimize the distress. But the problem is distress is always there. And is it really happiness? Happiness is just simply an absence of distress in the material world. That's all it is. You don't have to think twice. It's not really pleasure. It's like Mahaprabhu gives an example. An traditional way of punishing a thief is that they'll put him on a plank. They'll tie him up, and then they'll dunk him in water. And they'll dunk them in water until they cannot breathe. And then they let him come up for a gasp of air. And when the person breathes, then they feel, this feels so good. Because, they were suffering in the water for so long. And so naturally when they come out, they feel, it feels so good. You can pretty much put this same analogy throughout anything you do in material life. It's the same thing. Material sense gratification is just that tiny bit of absence of distress. The distress is there, but it's minimized to a very small degree that you can't, recognize it. But as you progress in spiritual life, you'll start to see the glaring fact that material distress is always there. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanu darshanam. Birth, death, old age, and disease. They always exist. In your height of material enjoyment, birth, death, old age, and disease always exist. Even for the demigods. Even for the demigods. It's mentioned as the degree of material distress is reduced. It's very reduced. The degree of material happiness is increased. But they're always in anxiety because the demons always come and destroy that prolonged sense of enjoyment. Indra is constantly thinking, who's going to come and take my position? Right? And then if you read 5th canto, there's these demons that exist in a subterranean heaven planets. It's called subterranean heavenly planets. Subterranean means within the earth. So when you see in 5th canto, it's mentioned that the earth is like a disc known as Jambu Dweep. And within the disc, you'll see all of these lower planetary systems. Atala, Vitala, Talatala, Sutala, Vitala, Patala. They'll all exist in this disc. And in a certain position in this disc, you'll see these so-called heavenly planets in which the demons enjoy. But unfortunately for the demons that try to enjoy that heavenly planets, they don't really enjoy. It's called the subterraneanly heavenly planets because all the opulences are available for the demons. But it's mentioned there that Sudarshan Chakra roams free and destroys the demons at will. So the demons don't know how long they'll live. They're in constant anxiety that we may be finished at any moment. And the envy and greed is so strong there, they're constantly fighting one another to enjoy sense gratification. Whereas in the heavenly planets, people understand, okay, this is Indra, this is the Agni, this is their position. They have their servants, they have their position, their citizens of their planets. They enjoy, we enjoy. There's a mutual agreement. Amongst demons, not the case. As you see, when they took up the Amrita from the ocean, when they churned the milk ocean, what was happening? Before Mohini Murti came, they were saying that I am stronger, you are weaker, so therefore the Amrita is for me. And they were fighting amongst one another. What did Mohini Murti do? She gave it to the demigods and shared it amongst the demigods. And the demigods didn't complain. So they materially enjoyed, so to speak, by sharing amongst themselves. Whereas the demons are unable to do that due to their own personal envy of one another. Right? And you see that in Kaliya, like we heard a couple of days ago. Kaliya was a snake. He was part of Nagaloka. But he was so envious of Garuda being of that position that he can take whatever snake he wants. He was so envious the other snakes were making the call that he decided, no, I will eat the offering. I will fight Garuda. So this is the nature of demons. Therefore you see, since snakes are considered the most envious living entities. It's mentioned in those heavenly planet, or those so-called positions, that the jewels on the heads of such serpents is the only illumination they experience. Can you imagine living in a dark place and all you see is one light source to a certain degree? You know, only a certain area is illuminated. It's not the whole place is always illuminated. And as they walk, they illuminate the place around them. It's a very hellish position to live in. That's why subterranean heavenly planets is actually a hellish position. Therefore, for a devotee, it's mentioned that Tridashapur Akasha Pushpayate. Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur mentions that for a devotee, these senses, Durdandindriya Kala Sarpa Patali, Damstraya Prokayate, that these senses are like poisonous serpents, but for a devotee, they're toothless, fangless, useless, right? And for the devotees, it's mentioned that this promise of heavenly planets, of enjoyment in heavenly planetary systems, is like an Akasha Pushpa, or a wallflower, or a imagination. It's just a false promise. That's what it is like for a devotee. Therefore, you hear about the very famous verse about, or even Prabhupada says, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada quotes, says the typewriter will type in heaven and the typewriter will type in hell. Similarly, a devotee will serve throughout the whole universe, regardless of the position. Whether full of opulence or not, they'll continue to glorify and preach, expand the glories of the Lord. So in the same way, our consciousness should be of that caliber. We should become free from sense gratification, because sense gratification lulls us into a false sense of security, right? You know, when you're in distress, say for example, disease hits you, and it's so bad, you feel like, I'm not going to be able to move forward from this, right? Compared to when you get full happiness, I don't know, you get a promotion, you get a lot of money in the lottery. When you get a lot of money in the lottery, or for example, what do you think? Now I can do anything I like. I can control, I can enjoy, I can do anything. But when we're diseased, what happens? We think, I've lost all control. I've lost all sense of enjoyment. I can't taste what I'm eating anymore. When I see my eyes are so watery, I can't smell, everything is clogged up. And then it becomes more apparent to us the difficult situation we're living in. But when we enjoy, is it possible? No, it's not possible. We become overcome by this illusion that we can continue to enjoy for the rest of our life, until we see the next person who we think is enjoying, but they're not enjoying. And when they're seeing us, they think we're enjoying, but we're not really enjoying. And in this way, Maya completely dupes us, or in other words, puts us in illusion, cheats us, thinking that that person's enjoying. If I get into that person's situation, I'll be happy. And that person's looking at you, thinking that person's happy. If I'm in that position, I'll be happy. And in this way, we continually cheat each other. In the 5th canto, I don't know why, this struck me a lot. In the 5th canto, it's mentioned in the explanation of the allegory of the material world, of how the living entity is like a merchant, the forest of material enjoyment, those chapters. It's mentioned that the living entities enjoy looking at one another's faces and continue to live their lives in such a way. They look at one another's faces, they enjoy, and they continue to exist. That means by seeing you, like what Prahlad Maharaj says, blind leading the blind, I forgot. Tepishu tantra urudami bandha. The blind leading the blind. In other words, you look at the other person, they fake happiness. So then you fake that same happiness. And in that way, that person thinks you're enjoying, you think they're enjoying, it's all good. Right? It's all good, mate. No worries. And that's what we think in this material existence. But actually, it's just simply a facade. Facade means a false display. There's no substance. Okay? So, therefore, Krishna mentions that yehi samsparshaja boga dukkha yonaya evate. A devotee knows The enjoyment is simply distress. Dukkha yonaya evate means it's pregnant with distress. In other words, with happiness, distress comes. Adi antavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. The intelligent doesn't relish such enjoyment because he knows there's a beginning and an end to it. Okay? So here we see Indra in that position. That's the consciousness that we're trying to avoid. And Prithu Maharaj, what's his consciousness? I will perform the 100 Aswamedha Yagyas to please and to glorify Lord Vishnu. Because he is Shaktivesh avatar. But he's clearly showing that he himself also performs Yagya. Krishna himself, in his pastimes, the chapter called Krishna performs his daily activities. What does he do? He performs Yagya. So just see how important Yagya is. Yatra Yagnapati Shakshad. Yagyapati, the enjoyer of all sacrifices. That can tell you, you perform sacrifices. Why? Because Krishna is the enjoyer of such sacrifices. You do yagya to please Krishna. And Krishna is pleased by such yagya. Yeah? It's mentioned 3rd chapter Bhagavad Gita also that when one performs yagya, one becomes freed from bondage. Does anyone know the shloka? Yes, yagna tatta karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhana tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. That perform your activities, O son of Kunti, perform them, perform yagya. Because by performing yagya, what happens? One becomes freed from the bondage which is ordinarily caused by doing ordinary course of works. So Krishna is telling later on also that yad korosi yad asnasi yad juhosi dadasi yad tapasyasi kauntaya tad kurusva mad arpanam. That whatever you do, do as an offering unto me. Why? I will enjoy. And by my enjoyment, you will enjoy. So we're coming back to this very simple point again. That we are Jivera Sarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. We are eternal servants. At any point in time, we are always the servant. You will notice that when you take the position, the false position of trying to be the enjoyer, you'll always remain also in a position of servitude. Prabhupada gives the example, the president of the country. Do you think he's the enjoyer or the servant? He's the servant of the citizens. Right? The person who takes care of animals like dogs, cats, who is the master, who is the servant? Right? They both serve each other, but the human thinks, I am the master. But then what do you see? They have to groom the dog, they have to train the dog, they have to pick up the stool of the dog, they have to, all of those things they have to worry about. Basically taking care of the dog and serving. And Prabhupada says, even if one doesn't have any relationship amongst people, they'll take up a dog or a cat to serve. If not that, they'll be serving their own senses. Because the senses will dictate. You are hungry, eat. That smells good, smell. That looks good, have a look. You'll be dictated by the senses to perform those activities. And then if you take it even a step higher, the persons who are trying to become liberated by negating the material world, in other words, the Gyanis, what are they serving? They're serving the subtle material enjoyment of wanting to be free from material existence. That's it. Just freedom from material existence. No suffering. Nirvana. Right? Vana means this forest of material existence. Nirvana means no material existence. No existence. Nothingness. Prabhupada says that's a type of spiritual suicide. Again, they're serving their senses. Krishna is not in the picture. There's no enjoyment of Krishna in that position. But here, Yagyapati, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, Shakshat, he directly appeared in Prithu Maharaj's sacrifice. So you can see how much he enjoyed Prithu Maharaj's offering of love and devotion. You see in the 5th canto also again, it's mentioned that when Maharaj Nabi, before the appearance of Rishabdev, it's mentioned that he asked, why is Vishnu not appearing in my sacrifice? He was performing sacrifice. He asked, why is the demigods not appearing? And so the the priests and rishis, then they performed the sacrifice and they asked the Lord to appear. And in those prayers you'll see, they'll say, we know we shouldn't be asking for material house. Rather, they were asking for a child for Maharaj Navi. And they know we should not be asking these material things of you. Right? But still, we are asking these things. That we want the king to have a child. And so Lord Vishnu appears. And if you hear the prayers by the Brahmanas again, they're saying that, we should not have approached you for these material things. We should not approach you for these things. Rather, we should approach to please you through love and devotion. So you can see here, Prithu Maharaj's sacrifice was successful because Yajnapati Shakshad, he directly appeared there. He was so pleased, he directly appeared there. Which is why a devotee always takes any reciprocation of the Lord as being the greatest reciprocation, the greatest success, the greatest expression of love of the Lord. Even if it may be some small thing, like Prabhupada says, if you cut your finger, what does the devotee think? That actually the hand was supposed to go. But Krishna has reduced my karma, so I only experience the cut. And the devotee feels great ecstasy. Not that now I can do whatever I like with my finger and hand. Rather, now Krishna has reduced it so I can utilize this again more in his service. This is how much he cares for me. Right? So even the smallest thing, the devotee is grateful and appreciates. So Bhagavan Harir Ishvara. Prabhupada mentions here in the purport that he clarifies that Vishnu is Vishnu Tattva and Prithu Maharaj is Jiva Tattva. He is Shaktyavesh Avatar. He is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shakshad Dharit Vena Samasta Sasha. In that verse it's mentioned the spiritual master is non-different from the Lord because he is the representative of the Lord. Therefore he requires all the worship, the respect that one gives to the Lord, because he is simply a representative. He is a messenger. He accepts it and then gives it to his spiritual master, who then gives it to his spiritual master all the way up the Guru Parampara to Krishna again. Yeah? So in the same way, Prithu Maharaj is showing by performing sacrifice that he's not worshipping himself. He's worshipping Bhagavan Harir Ishvaraha. Harir means one who takes away. But Prabhupada specifically mentions here, the Hari means that he takes away all miserable conditions. He only cares for your spiritual existence. In other words, he'll take away all obstacles to your spiritual existence, your spiritual practices, and make you become more and more surrendered unto him. Therefore, Prabhupada quotes here in this verse, the 1866, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja, that abandon all types of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction, do not fear. Right? I will deliver you from all sinful reaction, do not fear. Ham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yishyami masuchaha. He can do that because he's Bhagavan Harir Ishvara. He's not just a simple Ishvara. Right? He's not just some simple controller, like the demigods are controlling a particular element or a particular function of this material world, right? He's not a controller in the sense that there are maybe many people under a boss or a master, and he or she has many servants or employees. No, he is the Harir Ishvara. He is the supreme Ishvara. He is Ishvareshwara, the controller of all controllers. He's Ishvara Purushottama. He exhibits his power as Ishvara or the supreme controller when he assures his devotee in this verse in Bhagavad Gita. Rupa Goswami says that if you read Laghu Bhagavatamrita, there are certain distinct characteristics that only Krishna has, not the other Vishnu avatars, only Krishna. And one of them is that he can destroy the parabdha karma of his devotees. The things that are not yet to manifest, he can destroy all the karma of his devotees. Whereas no other Vishnu avatar, no other jiva can do. Only Krishna can do it. And Krishna chooses to do it for his devotees. So he can immediately make his devotee immune from all the reactions caused by sinful life if the devotee simply surrenders unto him. So this is the key. Surrender unto Krishna. Surrender unto Krishna is not a one-time affair. in a relationship, it's not just like, I've surrendered, I've joined the company, I've signed up, I've been employed by the company, that's it, I just sit down and relax. No, at every moment, what happens? What does the manager do? What does the supervisor do? There's KPIs, right? There are deliverables, right? They continually poke you. Where is this? Where is that? You have not achieved this amount of time, in this much amount of time. You should do it next quarter. You should do this. You should do that. Why? Because they want to advance the cause of their company. They want more profit, right? They want to enjoy more materially, right? So if that's the case in material existence, what do you expect? Even in relationships materially, you expect constant surrender, right? Constant reciprocation. So the same thing in devotional service. Krishna is the Supreme Person. So surrender is a moment-to-moment thing. For a devotee, it's always surrender to Krishna at every moment. Right? For us, it's surrender to Krishna maybe one moment of the day, if we're lucky. Right? And maybe that degree of surrender we don't know. But for devotees, always surrender to Krishna, and therefore Krishna takes him under his charge. For those who don't directly take shelter of Krishna, to that degree of surrender, ye yata mam prapadyante, Krishna will deliver you and take care of you accordingly. Prabhupada says Krishna is so kind that if you still have a tinge of material desire, he'll still make you take birth in this material world. Right? You think, from our perspective, you think, is that really enjoyment? Is that really kindness? It is, because Krishna is not forcing you to love him. Krishna is not forcing you. Krishna is respecting your free will. So here, therefore, who can be better? There is no one who is better to give instructions to human society than Lord Krishna. There is no one better. Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu. There's another point here, I'll just finish with this one. Anva Bhuyata Sarvatma, that he is the super soul of everyone. I was reading first canto. There it's mentioned that Vyasadeva is glorifying Narada Muni. That just like fire, your light expands everywhere. And just like air that can enter into the bodies of everyone. Similarly, you, Narada Muni, you can travel anywhere throughout the universe. And you can understand and enter into the hearts of all living entities. Just like the Supreme Lord. So Narada Muni is a perfect example of how when one gains the trust of the Lord, one becomes empowered to do anything for the Lord. It's mentioned Narada Muni can expand himself in so many places in this universe. He can go anywhere, anytime. He can exist in Vaikuntha, and if he wants, he can exist in the lower planetary systems at his will. For the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I just thought, that one last point, I really like that example. Just like fire exists and its light goes everywhere externally, Krishna exists and permeates. His devotees can also do the same thing. They can permeate throughout material existence. And just like air can enter into everyone's body, similarly, Krishna enters within the heart and is able to give good instructions. Therefore, he can give, as Maharaj mentioned on Sunday, customized instructions for the living entity. There's the general instructions given through the Vedas, through the Shastra, but Krishna can reveal the customized instructions by which we can go home back to Godhead, because he's able to pervade into the heart. He exists there as he exists everywhere. Okay, so I'll end there. We talked about a lot of things, mainly about how sense gratification can lull us into a sense of false security, and how real surrender means to be free from this enjoyment, this tendency. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yona evate adi antavanta kaunte natesha ramate buddha. So if we want to really make progress materially, spiritually, we must exercise self-control. But to progress spiritually, it must be under the guidance of the spiritual master. And it'll become very easy to exercise self-control, because you'll experience what? The higher taste. Whereas the karmis won't experience that. It'll become hackneyed. Over a period of time, they'll let go of their own so-called regulative practices. But the devotees are not like that. Hare Krishna. Any comments, questions? Thank you very much. Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nithai Gaur Premanande Hari.